I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favourite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all the right we know? Oh, forget it. Soren and Daniel O'Brien, two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.
So, hello again and welcome to another episode of Quick Question with Soren and Daniel, the podcast where two best friends and comedy writers ask each other questions and give each other answers. I am one half of that podcast, senior writer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, author of How to Fight Presidents with Daniel O'Brien, and four-time Writers Guild Award of America recipient Daniel O'Brien, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Soren Bowie. Soren, say hello.
Hey everybody, I'm Soren Bowie. I'm a writer for American Dad. I recently did a little sleuthing on the internet. Daniel had told me an anecdote about being at the WGA Awards, and I was like, where are those this year? Same place everywhere, Beverly Hotel, which is in my town, which means that Daniel never said hello.
Thanks to Rocket Money for supporting our podcast. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you, so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/QQ.
Thanks to Raycon for supporting Quick Question. Their audio quality rivals all the big audio brands you know and love at a price you'll love even more. Go to buyraycon.com/QQ today to get 20% off your Raycon order plus free shipping.
Well, here's the thing, Soren. Here's the insider scoop, is this ceremony takes place simultaneously in Los Angeles and New York. So I was at the Edison Ballroom in New York for the ceremony, and we are there in the room when they read the names and they announce the winners, and then we all, if you won, you get up and you give a speech, and it's very exciting. But I guess they also announce who wins in LA for the people who are at that ceremony, and they even announce categories where there's not a lot of the people there, and the West Coast gets it a little bit before we hear it announced live in real time. So the presenter is up there saying all of the names in our category for Comedy Talk Variety Series, and we're all sitting there like butterflies in stomachs, and then we get a text from Mark, one of our West Coast coworkers, who goes, "Woo, fuck yeah, congrats!" And we're all just like looking at each other like, "Did you see the? Do we got it? Okay, now let's wait for them up on stage to say it." So there's like
Wild.
a full 15 seconds where we all know what happened before the presenter even says the winner. It's a strange phenomenon. Yeah.
And you're not connected through a feed or anything like that, right? These are just two separate events that are happening at the same time.
They're two separate events, and I believe the winners are announced on the WGA social media as soon as they are revealed.
Yeah.
So when Mark on the West Coast gets it 15 seconds before we do, Twitter gets it as well, and wherever else you follow along. So it's like a buzz from our coworker. I got a text from my dad who read about it on Deadline, and we got a Slack notification from our boss who was not at the ceremony. So we all it was spoiled, but it's
in a good way.
It's still good. Yeah. Pleasant.
I mean, terrible for everybody else in the category.
Yeah.
Obviously, the reigning champs just keep winning. But okay. The events have to be happening simultaneously to not spoil the winners any more than 15 seconds. So
Correct.
Do you not have entertainment during it? Is there not somebody who's at the you don't have your Chris Rock who's there doing jokes in between the awards?
We have our host Josh Gondelman, friend of the show, who does an opening monologue and does a couple of bits throughout the night. But really, it's not like going to this will be accessible. It's not like going to the Emmys. When you go to the Emmys, because it's streamed live, broadcast on TV, there are the commercial breaks that you at home have to sit through, we also have to sit through that period of time. And there's no entertainment. So they just say, we're going to commercial now. And then we all just sit quietly and wait for the show to come back. The Writers Guild, because they're not televised, there are no commercials. It's just a ceremony that, moves at a steady pace. It's just a very long ceremony. So there's sometimes you get entertainment, but it's just in the form of like, it just so happens that Alana Glazer is presenting the next award and she has got a few minutes of fun stuff that she's going to do. But that's... But while she's doing her fun stuff, someone on the West Coast is like, last week tonight, John Oliver. While we're still getting banter on our side of the country.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like also with speeches and everything, it seems impossible to keep those two things running concordantly, like to keep them coincided. So that means it feels like there will be times where you're just like, we're getting word that West Coast hasn't caught up to us yet, so we're gonna just
vamp.
We're going to chill for a little bit, and we're just going to wait. Thank you for your patience. We should do a moment of silence for who's died. Who's died?
Have any writers died in the last year? No one wrote it down? We don't know? We don't we don't track that sort of thing? Fair.
We think that the guy who writes that stuff down might have died.
Yeah.
So we're just going to celebrate him. Either that or he was fired. We don't know which. Okay. Well,
but Soren, let's get right into the show.
Hold on. First of all, congratulations.
Okay.
Big congratulations, Daniel. I'm so happy for you. You won again. Your show just stacks up the awards, and I gotta say, it's due. Like, you guys are a good show. You're a really good show, and you deserve your accolades. And I know you never feel that way, and you think accolades are silly, but you do. You deserve it, and I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Everyone deserves awards. As long as we're going to give awards to adults, give them to all the adults.
No.
Okay.
No, because then the award doesn't mean anything anymore. You give it to the people.
Good.
Okay. We'll never. This is an impasse. Let's go on with the show.
Yeah. Soren, I need your help.
Okay.
I need your help coming up with a new word again.
Okay.
Last time I needed your help coming up with a new word. I don't think we ever landed on anything.
Horngry?
This time,
was it horny and hungry? I can't remember. What?
It definitely wasn't horny and hungry.
Yeah, I can't remember. You were like so full that you're mad?
So full that you're mad, yeah. We got
okay.
I think bustrated was on there, but that's why you're getting confused with horniness is because of busting. But it was like you're so full you want to bust, but you're mad about it.
Yeah.
So this is a phenomenon that I bet you are familiar with which I bet you are familiar. That sensation when you are prepared for something and you are just about to step up to the plate and demonstrate your quiet preparedness in an emergency, and then the moment passes and it's no longer needed. Here's where this came from. Our power went out last week, and a quick glance out the window saw that it was out for like as far as the eye could see where we are. Everyone's power was out, and unlike the earthquake situation where I froze and thought earthquake for several seconds, I get up, I go to one flashlight I have that is going to light this way, and then I go directly to where I know my two headlamps are, and I'm going to pull them down, and I'm going to give my fiancée and myself each get a headlamp, and then I'm going to retrieve the other candles and lanterns that are going to light our way. And I was like, I was so pumped to be Johnny on the spot, to be so prepared, and because this isn't a thing that I can like, I don't let Shay know when she moves in. It's like, hey, by the way, this is here where all of my cool emergency secrets are, because I'm waiting for a moment like this, and then it comes. I'm like, I'm going to be such a fucking stud doing this, and by the time I go from my headlamps back into the living room, the power goes back on, and I just don't get my moment of preparedness to shine in the sun. And
you have nowhere to put it.
Was feeling a thing, and I didn't have a word for it. So now it's your problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, what ultimately you want.
Is this familiar to you, by the way?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there are moments even in a room, like and when I say a room, I mean like a writer's room, like where you are, the conversation leads to a point where you have some really valuable, cool information, and you're like, oh boy, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be great. And then people keep talking, and then the conversation takes a quick turn and it goes a different direction, and you're like. You're still waiting at that stop, and you're like, maybe they'll come back for me. And you have an option then. You have the option of being like, I'm just going to bulldoze and say it anyway. Or letting it go and just eating that and just being like, okay, I didn't get it, and maybe someday it'll be back.
I've felt it on like camping and backpacking trips too. Like the first time I went backpacking with my former college roommate, and just knowing I had a very large knife, and into the hilt of which there was a compass, and also the compass unscrews, and there was like water purification pills and like a long line of rope. And it was like, this is going to be, when we need this, and we will need it, it's going to be so, there's no fucking way Jared, my old roommate, has this stuff. We're going to be fighting bears, and we're going to be lost, and I'm going to have all of that stuff that we need in one knife, and it's going to be so cool. And then the trip goes off without a hitch, and it's totally uneventful. And just like, well, I can't, in the parking lot of Yosemite, I can't be like, hey, by the way, I've been packing this giant machete this whole time. We didn't need it, but I needed you to know that I was ready for this.
It was digging into my hip the whole time. I think I blistered. It was nice that I brought
it's like, it's a preparedness with some pettiness to it, and like some searching of like, I want some kind of attaboy for the work that I could have done if I needed to.
Right. Yeah,
I think what I'm circling is low self-esteem, I think.
No, you want to be rewarded for doing a good job. I get it. I totally get it. We had to have earthquake preparedness kits here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that goes into making one of those, like putting it together and deciding what goes in it. And then I also made them for my children as well. Like a completely different thing, because they need different stuff. And had it already, got them in our house, then also put 2 in our cars. And like, you're buying brand new stuff for those. Like you're buying new utility knives and things like that. And crowbars and like things that I don't ordinarily own. And now I have these toys that I just can't play with. Like they're just sitting in these cars, and like, and so I get done and I'm just like, oh, come on. It would be really great to get an earthquake like right now.
Yeah.
That would be very helpful.
Right, because best case scenario, you never have to use your bug out bag, your earthquake kit, your camping knife compass combo, your headlamps for when the power goes out. Best case scenario, you never have to use any of your emergency things. Second best case scenario, you do. And it's cool when you do.
It has to also save the day, because like it can't be too big an emergency. It can't be like so big that you're like, okay, this is like a little stopgap. Like this is I'm putting my finger in the dam, but like we're all toast here in like 48 hours.
Right. It's for me it was kind of blown even worse, because I went and retrieved the headlamps, and then the power went on, and so Shay could see that I had them, and she was like, that's great. And I was like, yeah, but it would have been. Now you won't be surprised if we do need them in the future. Now if the power goes out, you'll be like, where are the headlamps? And now it's just a thing that I'm expected to have, not a surprise thing.
It's now the expectation. Yeah. There's gotta be like some portmanteau of preparedness blue balls. Like,
yeah. I didn't want to take it to blue balls, but that is what I've been thinking.
All right. Well, I understand. You don't want to go blue.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
What I could do is I could just sit here in silence for the next 10 minutes and come up with a really great one. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Burn 10 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah.
So if anyone's skipping around, there's just like this moment of silence, and all of a sudden this word that's like, press appointment. They're like, yeah, that's it. Okay. No, I know that feeling bad. I know
we might not settle
desperately.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 things everyone knows about me is that I recently merged households and I'm saving for a wedding. That means an inevitable third thing has to be true. We are trying to save money by condensing and getting rid of our unwanted subscriptions. And there were a lot of them. When you combine 2 houses, and even if you don't, you find there are a ton of unwanted subscriptions lying around. Rocket Money helps you cancel a subscription. Did you know nearly 75% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about? Before I started using Rocket Money, I thought I had about 2 subscriptions. I could not believe it when they showed me I was paying for 18 subscriptions each month. Between streaming services, fitness apps, and delivery services, it's never ending. Thanks to Rocket Money, I'm no longer wasting my money on the ones that I forgot about. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with a few taps. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate and lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is submit a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. They'll deal with customer service for you. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscription, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. That's a lot of wedding money. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/QQ. That's rocketmoney.com/QQ. rocketmoney.com/QQ.
Daniel, maybe I shouldn't even bring this up in the off chance that we are going to get a separate podcast where we just talk about weddings the rest of our lives, but how is wedding planning going?
It's going well. It's fun and stressful. I mean, both things can be true. There's so much stuff that's timed because we're on a very abbreviated schedule. We just wanted to get married sooner rather than later, and there are a lot of things that we need to like take off and book before they're completely booked up. So there's like the stressful side of things, and you don't want that to feel super rushed, and we're not making it feel rushed. But the thing, so much of your vendors, who you're choosing as your department heads for a wedding, so much of that is based on, for lack of a better word, vibes. I mean, you're looking at the work of your videographer, your photographer, and your bands, your coordinators, whomever you're working with. You have like some loose resumes and previous work to go over, but at the end of the day, these are people that are going to be at your wedding, and like people that we're going to be in communication with for the next however many months until the wedding. So you still want it to be someone that you can get along with, and you're gonna like, and it's gonna feel like a good fit, and you're gonna want them around, and you think like, yes, this photographer gets what we're all about. This videographer understands. They're gonna weave in and out and capture the right moments. They're gonna have good instincts, and there's really no way that I have found to land on who is a good vibe fit for your wedding that isn't a conversation, either in person or we've been doing a lot of Zoom conversations with people, and it's just a lot of sitting in front of a computer, and like we tell our story, the person tells their story, and we like chat and we vibe and like and again see if it's a good energy, if this person would be a good hang. And there's a lot of joy and excitement to that. There's no shortcut. There, like, every conversation is a conversation about your story, and also everyone. There's no vendor, because weddings are a huge fucking racket. There's no vendor that's gonna be like, look, I'm just the photographer. Really, you want to spend your money on the music and the food. I just take pictures. Who cares? Every single person, because every vendor got the same memo that no one says the word expense anymore. They all say investment. Every one of them is like, don't think about photography as an expense. Think of it as an investment. What are you going to have for the future? You're going to have these pictures. You're going to have them forever. You're going to have these videos. This is an investment. And I believe all of them. And I'm like, Absolutely, totally. No, you're right. And then we take over to a phone call with the florist who was like, flowers live forever. And we're like, oh, fuck.
No, they don't.
One of you has to be, can't one of you just be like, bullshit? Can't one of you be like, I'm the guy who does chairs.
Yeah.
Chairs are nonsense. So
Yeah.
they're going to be cheap. No, everything is, everyone got the same memo that when you're selling something to a potential bride and groom, it is all about the story that you're selling them and like the experience that you're bringing, because they know like we are excited and we will be sold on like really passionate people telling great stories, even if those at the end of the day it's still like, all right, and then you write a very large check to a person who is going to do a thing that your friends can do for free.
Yeah. Yes. It's like, it's endlessly frustrating how overcharged you get for every single piece of a wedding. Every single piece. Where you're like, even like if you're like, I want to rent umbrellas. Like umbrellas are going to be hanging from the ceiling and it's going to be really cool. And they're like, all right, cool. Wait a second. Is this for a wedding? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you want wedding umbrellas? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got those. They're a little bit more expensive, but it's an investment. Yeah,
It is still good though. I the reason I don't want to talk about the wedding planning too much is that I don't want it to be so repetitive of just like zeroing in on the cost, because at the end of the day, like this is what we want to do and we've chosen to do, and like we like these conversations with the vendors that we're going to be working with. It's just a lot. And it does start to feel like they're all working from the same playbook of how to talk to us. And I don't think any vendor is trying to scam us. Absolutely not. They're all doing good work, but I just think that the wedding industrial complex at this point just has its set ways of doing things, and it's like financial floor of what they are allowed to ask for their services. And are you to the point yet
in the creation of this wedding that you have felt how easy it is to become like this is a very loaded term, but like a bridezilla, like you yourself, like whatever your version of it is, like the fact that it is going to cost so much money at every single turn, and every single turn it's everybody telling you this is going to be such an important day for you. Of course, you'd want to get it exactly right. You'd want it to be exactly the way you want it. And because it's stressful and it's terrifying, and you're spending so much money, and everyone's telling you it has to be perfect. So like the fact that you would on the day be like, these are not the fucking chairs I wanted. Like these are the wrong chairs. Right. Like you could see how that happens so easily.
I don't believe I've become Groomzilla yet, but I understand how a person could turn into Groomzilla or bridezilla, because one of the things that I've learned about planning a wedding, which if you haven't planned a wedding, you simply gotta. It's too much fun. But a thing that I've learned about it is it's similar to directing sketches and movies, I assume, where it's very important for you to have strong opinions on many things that you didn't previously have strong opinions about. Yeah. When you're directing, you need to have like, this is what I think a set should look like, and this is what I think costumes should look like. There's less room for directors to be like, I don't know, what do you think? You know, you have your department heads, you need to give them your vision and then let them go and do their art with it. Very similar to planning a wedding from my limited experience so far, where you need to have firm answers on things that you previously didn't care about, like table settings and like color palettes for the wedding, and what kind of suit you want to wear, what kind of suit you want other people to wear, flowers, the size of a band, these things that you never gave thought to, you suddenly need to have answers on. And I like that. I like being firm and having opinions, but what happens in this process is those opinions that you formed because you needed to give an answer, they become how you actually feel. So it wasn't just like, a throw off thing, it suddenly becomes like a thing that is important to you in real life. And weddings, because it's the joint vision of two people, augmented with the help of a variety of artistic vendors and creative people with their own agendas and price points, you inevitably compromise on things in the best ways generally. And I can be pretty flexible, I think, on compromising things. But how I think Groomzillas are forged is one of the things will become very important to you. One or two or three of the things. It's never going to be like, I don't think Gride or Groomzillas are, this wedding was supposed to be perfect and it's not 100% perfect. I think what happens is I'm going to find one thing, and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find the thing that just becomes the most important thing in the wedding to me, some like very small superficial thing. And it's because the wedding industrial complex has trained me to feel very passionately about all of these things. And I'll budge on some things, but it's going to be one or two things. It's going to be something like, it's like, oh yeah, this aspect isn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect 100% of the time. The food wasn't exactly XYZ. The blah, 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 the flour, whatever it's going to be, they're all fine. And then there's going to be like one really surprising tiny thing where it's like the band didn't learn this song. Like they didn't learn the fucking Monster Mash or whatever the thing is going to be. Like suddenly one thing is going to become the most important thing to me. And I hope for all of our sake that whatever vendor is in charge of that does it right, because this is like, I can see how a person can really stew and fixate on something. You know, they'll focus on like, here's where I compromised on this thing, and here's where I compromised on that thing. The one thing that I insisted on was everyone goes home with a pocket full of pasta, and then lo and behold, the pasta guy called out, and then something in my brain snaps, and the wedding is ruined for me.
Yes.
But I'm not there yet, and I don't know what the thing is yet.
Because you guys, and I'm sure you've already started a little bit, but like the delegation of tasks within a wedding between the two of you, because it's not, you know, like we're not preparing for your one-man show. Like it's now both of us. Like now there's like two people, and the other person is reliant on you as well. So it ends up being the thing that you were responsible for, that you took great pride in, and then goes wrong. Because not only is that disappointing to you, but you're deeply embarrassed to your significant other because you've ruined it for them. And so like for me, it was DJ. Like we were like, we spent a lot of time thinking like, okay, it's a small town. Can we do live music? We're not really into the bands that we could get. Like, let's just do a DJ. I took care of it. Like I found a local guy, like got a DJ, and then like put together music to be like, you're just going to fucking play it. But like, here are like 400 songs that I think would be good.
Right.
A lot of songs that could have all been played. And we got I would say 70% of what we heard was songs that he picked. And when we came out, said Colleen's name wrong. And so like, that was the thing where I was like, fuck, like I fucked this up.
Especially when you look around and you look at the things that were her responsibility, and it's like, nope, flowers look great, food's great. Fuck.
The table settings, you were right. The mason jars with wildflowers was the way to go. And like the photographer, like everything that she did was pinpoint. And that's always going to be the case with my wife, because my wife she went to school for planning. She is great at it. She's great at planning big events, and she's good at like forward thinking, and I am not. And so like when I get it wrong, I'm like, oh, I'm just a child.
I think the important takeaway to remember is that your wedding was great and everyone loved it, and I don't think your DJ doesn't stand out as bad to me or anything like that. I maybe at some point knew that he got your wife's name wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe on the day I might have known that, but I it's not
Didn't
ringing a bell. No.
That's good. That's good. That's good news.
Yeah.
Hey, it's almost Mother's Day, and I know what you're thinking. I don't really get my mom anything on Mother's Day. I just give her a card, maybe flowers, nothing bigger than that because you don't want to set a precedent. I'm telling you, you got to get your mom a pair of Raycon earbuds. There's something that she will love. If your mom is like my mom, she gets home from having driven into town, back up to her log cabin, and then she just sits in her car and listens to the radio because she doesn't want to end what she's already listening to. And she doesn't realize that she can listen to that in the house with her Raycon earbuds if she just had some. Think of all the things your mom could still be doing every single day and she could get done if she didn't have to just sit in the car outside of your log cabin in the woods for 20 minutes a day. Is no one else having this problem? Am I going crazy? Honestly, though, they make a great Mother's Day gift. Get 20% off your Raycon order and free shipping at buyraycon.com/QQ. Raycon's everyday earbuds are the perfect way to tune out all the noise around you and tune in to something great. And Raycon offers 30-day returns. I use my Raycons pretty much every day. If I'm running to the gym, I'm wearing my Raycons because I know that they're going to stay in my ear better than any other earbud. So go to buyraycon.com/QQ today to get 20% off your Raycon order plus free shipping. That's right, you'll get 20% off and free shipping at buyraycon.com/QQ. Daniel, I'm going to let me prepare right now.
Okay.
Regardless of how your wedding goes, you know what I'm going to say to you about your wedding, right?
Yeah. You're going to say it was great, best wedding you've ever been to?
That's exactly right. That's because that's what you always say to people.
Absolutely.
Is that what you want from me?
I would push you to include at least one specific and like an undeniable specific, because you can say the wedding was perfect because that's what you say to people at weddings. But I think if you really want to sell a product, I think you have to say when this person said this thing in this speech, or ideally something that I said or did, or that Shay said or did, something that you can pull out that like shows you were really paying attention, then I'll be like, oh, he's telling the truth. Anyone could say it's a perfect wedding, but he said it was a perfect wedding and the calamari was good. Now that's true. So that means if the calamari thing is true, then the perfect wedding thing must also be true. That's how I know this is legit.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would give you specificity. This isn't my first rodeo, but
yeah.
I've been to weddings, and I've been to weddings where I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah. We all have.
That was tough. And
I think
I didn't know if you wanted me to have license, like at the end, if I had gone to this wedding and the calamari was all pig bung and like it was just downhill from there, if you'd want me to be like, dude, let's do it again.
No, I want you to do the sweet guy thing and say that everything was great and everything was perfect and really moving. And
it's gonna be.
Here's where I don't envy you, and this is so exciting to me. You're gonna go to my wedding, and then sometime pretty shortly after that, we're going to do a podcast about it. Not about it, but like the people are going to want to know. They're going to know the wedding is happening this fall. And I have never been to a wedding and then did a podcast about it, knowing that the person whose wedding it was would then have the option to go over the footage of what I said in the podcast and like really tell if I was lying or if I was blowing smoke or whatever. And now you have that. So, like, if you don't like the wedding, you have the biggest acting challenge of your fucking life ahead of you. Because you're going to have to lie to me in this podcast, and I'm going to have to believe you, and all the sworn swords of Soren in the comments, they're going to have to believe you. DOVs, whichever my fans are called, they're going to have to believe you. And I don't normally read the comments or engage with our fans, but I'm going to mobilize them for this episode. Be like, everyone look for, I know one of our listeners has got to be an FBI body language expert. Get him or her in there to look at Soren and see if they could spot tells if he's like blinking too much or if he's sweating while he's talking about the calamari. Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to do a podcast about it, and then I'm going to analyze the podcast, and then we're going to do a podcast about that.
Yeah, you suddenly have a bone to pick. Like, it's a completely amicable podcast where we're like, it was the best wedding. It was so good. It was like, I love this aspect, and I love your color choices, your palette, like everything. And then at the end of it, we come back, and you're like, all right, listen, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I got a bone to pick with you.
Now, Soren, every time you say, you said the music was great, and you looked straight at the camera, and you said the food was great, but then when you said the color palette was great, your eyes went up and to the left. And you did that a few times, and I brought in an expert here who says that's your tell that you're lying. So, what the fuck, man? Try again.
I am very excited. Are you guys? I mean, I don't know how much you want to divulge, but are you doing fall colors for it, or what?
No.
Okay. I think that's good because you are, like, if you were in the mountains or something like that, I would, or like the tip of Maine, I would be like, oh no, you got to go with like a rust.
Yeah.
But where you are, I think it does not matter. I think it's gonna be so much fucking fun. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I was lamenting, and maybe I did it on the podcast. I was lamenting how, like, I'm too old for weddings. Like, the weddings all dried up. For a while, that's all my money was being spent on weddings, like going to weddings, and I was fine with that. I love going to a wedding. But then they started drying up, and everyone was like, hey, man, you'll get the next one. Like, next time around, like, all those friends will start getting divorced, and then you can go to the next weddings. And I'm like, no, I've got good friends. Like, they're good people, and they're going to stay married. They're not shitheads.
There's a shout out to all our divorced people. I'm sorry it didn't work out. You're not a shithead. You're a good person. Try
one of you was a
again.
shithead. I'm sure of it.
But you're absolutely right. There's a period in your 20s where it just feels like there's like a 3 or 4 year wedding season where it's all happening. And for me, I was like, because I had friends in LA and New Jersey who were getting married, there was like a lot of traveling, bouncing around. It almost gets overwhelming. And like I have a coworker who's quite a bit younger than I am, and she has 7 weddings this year. And I was like, man, that's what it's like to be in your mid-20s, and I do not miss that. But the fun thing is, because we to your point, we were talking to one of our potential vendors today, and they were trying to get a sense of what this wedding is going to be. And I was like, well, we have a nice advantage, and because we're a little bit older, and a lot of our guests have been our friends for life, and we don't have as many weddings as we used to have, because that's just a type of party that dries up after a certain point under ideal circumstances. So we've got a group of people who know this is their last big party for a while, and they're so hyped and they're so excited about it. And it's just, we've got a lot of people who are going to be leaving their kids at home for a night out or a weekend out, whatever they want it to be, and they are just like pumped to have this kind of thing that you might have gotten tired of by your 4th wedding in 2 years, but now it's like, oh yeah, it's fucking this again. You know, everyone likes one roller coaster every once in a while.
Well, you thought the door was shut. I mean, like that. You thought that door on that part of your life, and you're like, oh well. I mean, it was nice while it lasted, and then all of a sudden, you just get in this time machine. Like, you get to turn it back, and you get to go try it, relive it one more time. And like, I think people are gonna go fucking ham at your wedding.
I think so too. I think it's gonna be a fun time.
It's gonna be so great. I think I don't remember if it said on the invitation. Are kids allowed?
No.
Okay. All right. Fuck off, kids.
Which is a tough call, and I think everybody planning a wedding will say the same thing. Where we like all the kids in our extended lives, but you do kind of want the parents to have like a night out, a night off, a night to party and get silly. And it's also, again, like not to make everything a cost thing, but weddings will charge you for everything.
Yeah. Yes. Including children.
Yeah.
And they don't even eat as much, but they get charged as a regular head.
That's right. Yeah. You can't say like, hey, don't worry, I'm bringing a sandwich from home for this one kid, and they're like, we don't care.
Yeah. We're charging that kid not only for the steak, but we're also going to charge him for 2 Manhattans as well.
Yes. You said, since I guess since this has now turned into the wedding podcast.
Yes.
You mentioned in another episode mistakes, things you wish you had done differently or avoided. Is there anything that you can share on that front?
Yeah. Are you guys doing champagne for your toasts?
Probably. What the fuck?
Here are 2 things around alcohol that I found. One,
Okay.
the beer wine with a signature cocktail is never like, it's so much, the expense of just going full bar is so much better than just having the signature cocktail and beer and wine at the wedding. Like, it changes the entire atmosphere of the wedding. So like, I highly recommend going full bar. You may already be doing that. The other thing is champagne is such a fucking racket and it's such a waste because nobody wants it at the wedding. If you got a full bar, everybody's already got the drinks that they like or that they want. And they just cheers with those. Like, the idea that you have to cheers with this one mediocre mid-tier C+ drink instead is silly. And like, so by the end, like, we thought we had to do champagne. Everybody's like, you have to do champagne, you have to do champagne. And then maybe it was my brother. Somebody was like, you don't have to do champagne. Like, it's not, you don't have to invite that aunt you don't like. Like,
the wedding will still count.
Right. And we were like, oh yeah. And then you also don't have to have somebody comes through and puts all the glasses on the table and pours all the drinks during the speeches and stuff. Nobody wants, and like, you look at a wedding at the end, all that's left on the tables are water glasses and the champagne, like champagne glasses with a flute with one sip out of it. Like, nobody wants it.
That's a level of pageantry I'm more okay with, I think.
Okay.
There's something charming about that to me. One thing I'll say about weddings and like a lot of these sit-down dinner formal events, the waiters who come by to exclusively offer red or white wine has always been mind-boggling to me. You should be able to, there will be wine at the wedding, you should get your wine, but they set these things up where you have a cocktail hour where you can get whatever you want, and then you have your champagne toast where you have champagne, and then that you sit down when it's time to eat, and they're like, do you want a red or a white wine? It's like, I want the fucking double bourbon on the rocks that I've been drinking all night. I'm not going to switch gears. Like, the champagne was a nice little diversion, but I'm not going to suddenly drink red wine now just because there's fish in front of me.
Right. Did you guys already like sit down and pick out wines and stuff, or is that yet to come?
No, that's yet to come. We're front loading with a lot of the stuff that is like, that has a timer on it that you need to book before it gets booked by someone else, and get all of those things sewn up. And then, not that I imagine any wedding plan is smooth sailing at any part, but once we get these things sewn up, it's pretty smooth sailing in terms of just like, now we're going to have our tasting. Now we're going to do the cake thing. Now we're going to come up with our signature cocktails. Now we're going to focus on like songs that people are going to come in and out to. We're going to focus on like
the fun
what
stuff.
readings we're going to do. All this kind of stuff that has no real timer on it. That is not that any part of this has been arduous, but those parts are going to be the more fun aspects of it. And we're saving them to later as a treat.
Yeah, those are the best parts. I'll in the middle of wedding planning for me, like, we were doing special trips to Colorado because we had to go taste stuff and things like that. And we were in like the real logistics hell of it. In the very middle of it. And I remember being at dinner with my mom and Colleen, and we're getting asked a bunch of questions. Like, we're just getting grilled about the things that we want. And I'm tired of thinking about it. And this is not like, I was not trying to get away from my wife, and I was not trying to get away from my mom. I love both of them, and they're like the most important people in my life. But we were sitting there, and on the wall of this, because we got married in like this old mining town. So on the wall, there was this head of an elk, and I'm looking at it and just fantasizing that the entire rest of the body, the elk just comes bursting through the wall, and I just get on its back and ride away into the woods. and then I'm in the woods, and I'm away from all these decisions and everything that's on my shoulders at that moment, and I'm just like, that would be so nice. Just rode an elk into the woods. So
I understand
maybe you'll have an elk in
Impulse.
the woods moment.
No, I want to tell you actually about the worst vendor that we met with. This
Yeah, hell yeah! Shout out.
photographer who spoiler alert didn't get the job, and we had like a scheduled Zoom with him, and he did not show up on time, which was strike one, and he gave like no notice or anything like that. 10 or so minutes in, we messaged him. It was like, hey, are we still on for this 7 p.m. Monday Zoom? He was like, oh yeah, sorry, I've been working all day, I hadn't even got time to go to the bathroom, so give me like 5-10 minutes. And then finally this meeting happens, and because as much as everything is a logistical to do, we're still excited every time we talk to a vendor, because everyone we talk to might be the person who's going to be perfect for our wedding. So we're there like amped and high energy, and my fiance is asking him a bunch of questions, like has this whole like preamble setup thing, and he looks like he's paying attention and nodding the whole time. And then finally, when it's his turn to speak, he goes, okay, excuse me, I'm going to be typing now, because I'm going to be taking notes during this meeting. So if you see me typing, that's what I'm doing. April 14th, 2024. I was like, oh, you missed some of the notes, buddy. I think you're just... And I asked a question that I had that is like not the best question in the world. It's a very delicate one to talk to photographers about, because they're artists too, and I don't want to step on their toes or anything, but I was trying to communicate like what we recognize that you're an artist, and we don't want to tell you how to do your job, obviously, and everything like that. But I have been to weddings before where, for example, in like the getting ready moments in the morning, groomsmen don't need as much time as is typically required. And what happens is groomsmen will show up for a getting ready photo shoot, and we show up amped and ready and having a good time, and photos start getting taken, and then photos continue to get taken, and there's like, I've had photographers who are like, let's really zoom in on these cufflinks, let's really zoom in on this, let's get a couple of different options of ba. And again, I know that like they're trying to get the absolute perfect picture, but I wanted to know if a photographer could be in tune to, again, I'm going to use the imperfect word, vibes. If they can notice when the energy is being sucked out of a room, and what they've done in the past, or like what levers they pull. Is there a safe word to communicate? Is like, we've got to wrap this up soon because the energy is dying, and we are no longer having fun as a group standing here while you take a picture of a wristwatch getting hit by the light in the exact right way. This is there's a lot of people who like need to have their energy for the next 12 hours. And let's move. You know, that kind of thing, where I'm just like asking him, I respect you as an artist, but what do we do in situations like this? Do you feel like you're particularly good at picking up on that kind of tone? And our listeners won't see, I'm doing some prop work now. He reached for a candle, and as he's answering my question, he goes, I've done like 500 weddings, and I have these meetings, and the questions are so boring. And I'm trying to find a way to answer it for you that isn't boring. I'm trying to light this candle too. I like to have candles when I work. I can't get this candle to light. Oh, see? I'm holding up the camera. Yeah, candle. This candle's done. Let me grab this candle now. And now he's lighting another candle. And that is the end of his answer. He never really gets around to it. He says cufflinks a few times because that was a word that I said in my question. He was like, so when people talk about cufflinks, you know, yeah, I like to have candles when I work. And I was like, okay, great. That's the answer to my question. And then Shay was asking him one of her questions, and I've already at this point, I have tapped her foot with my foot
we're
a
done.
code that we hadn't worked out in advance. That was, I'm done now. And then she taps my foot right back. And I thought, we really should have discussed this. I don't know if she, like, her foot tap to me was like, settle down. This is fine. This is going to be fine. She asked him a question. And instead of answering her question, he's just like, yeah, the thing about, like, the best time of night. Oh, and then he just starts, like, pinching at the air in the room, just like snapping at the air around him. And he's like, and he goes, see, I have cats here, and they get their hair. It floats around.
He's trying to catch
All the
hair.
cat hair is always floating around. It's hard sometimes when I'm editing and like developing with all this cat hair, and I am ready to like grind a hole into the floor with my foot. And then fiance is like, listen, we don't want to take up too much of your time. It seems like you're a little distracted today, and we're going to go in another direction. Thank you very much for your time. And he's just like, oh, okay. And that was the end of our call. And
That's great.
It was like, you couldn't have scripted a better example of someone who does not want to get hired for this job. Like truly, I mean, you could have if you wanted to be completely ridiculous, but if it really felt like he had a boss or a coworker or someone who was like, look, you need to at least take the meeting to prove that you are trying to get hired. That's all you got to do. And then he decided, all right, that's all I will do. And proceeded to have like the strangest and most out of touch and like uninterested vibe, energy you could ever meet from anyone.
Yeah, especially when the question is, are you good with like energy checks?
Right.
Are you doing one right now? That's so bad. Wow.
Yeah.
I never had any that were that bad. I've had contractors before, like, to work on stuff where I'm like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
I need my roof fixed and you showed up in sandals.
Yeah.
No, I'm not, you can't get up there. But like, I've never for a wedding.
Especially with the other wedding people that we talk with, because it seems like if you're going to get in the wedding vendor racket, you need to at the very earliest stage get the memo that you are talking to very excited people, and you need to match that level of excitement. Everybody else that we talk to, you feel like royalty because you email people about a hotel block or you talk to people about a venue, and they're like, first of all, congratulations.
Yeah.
You two look great. I love your energy. Like the way that we've grown accustomed to people talking to us, it's so nice, and it's never going to happen again. No one is ever going to congratulate us for any other joint purchase that we have to do. But right now, just everyone who's like we when we picked our venue, they're like, hey, let's pour some champagne. Let's take a picture of you at the venue saying you just booked your venue, and now here's a glass of champagne each. And she's like, I do deserve to be treated this way. And like everyone is that level of kind and excited. And then this photographer, who I truly don't know how he's ever booked a job in his life, is lighting candles and complaining about cats and couldn't be fucked to answer our questions.
That's so fucking wild.
It's like, sir, you just called me boring. Everybody else in this industry calls me sir or stud. That's how I expect to be treated now.
I've become accustomed, you see. Well, I mean, I'm very excited to, first of all, the wedding, but also just to continue to talk about the wedding going forward. Are you okay with that? If we on other podcasts?
Certainly. I mean, we'll see if it tanks our numbers, but it's impossible for me to not talk about it. It's very difficult. Today was my mom's birthday. Shout out to Mom. You made me. You're the best. And we FaceTimed her for a while and talked about wedding stuff. And then there was a distinct moment in the conversation where it was like, but enough about our wedding stuff. This is your birthday. This is about you. What are you doing for you on this day? Oh, we're so excited to go dress shopping with you next week. And like, there was not a pause to breathe. And I segued into another wedding thing. It's just it's my full-time job now. I'm more likely to talk about that than I am about my part-time job at Last Week Tonight.
Yeah. You will be for a while, and then it will all just disappear in your brain.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for you. I'm excited to keep talking about it. I have some like tips for you for like ceremony and stuff if you ever want them. Yeah, we can talk about it next time. Because frankly, we're out of time.
Oh, so, thank goodness.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. This is of course Quick Question. You already knew that. You can follow Daniel or I on Blue Sky. I'm kind of like hitting my stride on Blue Sky. I feel like I'm doing some good jokes over there.
You're really doing a lot of jokes.
What a kind way of agreeing with me, Daniel. You can still find Quick Question on X at @QQ_Soren and Dan. We have an email, which is qqwithsorenanddaniel@gmail.com. On Instagram, new handle, baby, Soren and Daniel. And we also have a Patreon, which is Patreon/Quick Question. We've been having a lot of new video bonus content on there lately. And if you want to just watch these videos instead of listening to them, you can do that at YouTube, at youtube.com/@QQpodcast. Our theme song is by Me-Rex. If you'd like to listen to their music, do it. Just type in Me-Rex to like Spotify. Or if you want their full albums, you go to merex.bandcamp.com. And that's it. Happy birthday to your mom, Dan.
Hey, thank you. I think that the video podcast is a real trip for people, because sometimes my eyes are going all over the place because I'm thinking and I'm trying not to stare down at my computer and be present. And I also avoid the camera. But sometimes I stare right at the camera, and it's perhaps too much.
I find myself when I'm doing bits, doing it directly to the camera.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favourite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all go? Why do we know? Oh, forget it. Soren, Daniel, O'Brien, two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.